One of the great things about being a coach at Farragut High School was that I got to know a lot of the kids and living in the neighborhood. And so a lot of the young, these young high school students that had this vision to start a church 30 years ago. But one of the most touching things for me today, as I look back 30 years back, is that many, actually most of those young people are still involved in our church, and they've grown into leaders of our church.
Well, when I remember back to starting this church on these Sunday mornings, it was pretty pathetic, looking from the outside world. I mean, we were just in an old storefront building. We had really beat up furniture. We had gotten some donations of some couches and chairs that had literally springs popping up in the chair and upholstery just all torn up. And we just sat around in a circle. There were probably about 15 of us at the beginning. And our music, we had a record player. It was the days before CDs or anything. And we just had some music going on the record player, and very humble beginnings. It took a while. It just didn't happen quickly, which is sort of hard to believe now as the ministry's gotten so large, to think back and to convince people how small we were for quite a long time, and to encourage other people who are in ministry, just don't give up. It takes a long time sometimes to lay that groundwork.
So one day we got the idea, we told Coach, let's open a church. The coach said, no, I open a church. He said, I don't know that'd be a good idea. Because you know why we wanted to open a church? Because I want to know more about God. And the churches in the community, everybody was going dressing up, going to church and stuff. And I didn't have the clothes to dress up to go to church. And so we tried it out, and it turned out to be great, And now it's coming on 30 years later.
In addition to not requiring a dress code and not wanting to do anything to turn people off in that respect, they also didn't pass an offering plate, and they were also more focused on serving the community as opposed to people showing up and just giving offerings and then going home and not being able to come back except for the following Sunday, or maybe something like choir rehearsal or Wednesday night Bible study in between.
Ephesians 3:20 really comes to life, and the word where it talks about God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all things we can think of or even imagine. And clearly, when we sat in the room in 1978, we did not imagine this. We did not even think of this. We just thought we was going to be sitting in a little storefront. So it's an amazing privilege for me to be a part of something of this magnitude, and clearly it's all for the glory of God, and I'm so thankful and grateful for that.
The message was just so real, just so down to earth. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. The dress code was something that was comfortable for our family. Just great fellowship. So we started coming on a regular basis.
I actually remember worshiping on Sunday mornings here, and us sitting in a circle, which was just different from my way of worshiping and any type of upbringing in a church that I had, and the types of songs we even sang. But the most important thing that I really remember is that the church was a church that was a teaching church.
The summer of 2002, I came here after my junior year and spent the whole summer here in Lawndale, and just really was rocked about Lawndale and just the ministry, and I was really just kind of challenged to look at ministry differently.
The House Covenant Church is basically a church that has put a pause in the life of youth and young adults between the ages of 13 to 35. Well, Lawndale Community Church started with young people, and it continues to grow and mature with the young adults who are now adults and married and things like that. We want to do the same thing. However, we want to push pause in their life. We don't believe that the generation 13 to 35 has really heard a clear, practical, relevant message of the gospel, especially those influenced in the hip-hop culture.
Had a heart for ministry, worked with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Kansas City, was real active with my church, but had a heart for young men. And when I came to the ministry was built on the premise of young men having an active role in building the church and leading it. So this was a home for me from that standpoint. As with Jonah, I didn't know if I really wanted to come, but after hearing the sermon and found a ministry inside of me that needed to be expressed, Lawndale was the perfect place for me to come do that.
As a physician, it's been very important for me to be in the neighborhood for other reasons. It's really helpful for me to see my patients in the office, be able to talk to them about spiritual things, pray with them, but then say, hey, do you have a church to go on Sunday morning? If they do, I encourage them to go to that church. But if they don't, to be able to say, hey, why don't you come to Lawndale and I'll see you there on Sunday morning, and be able to then go and meet them on Sunday morning, encourage them. It's also been really important for me because sometimes you do get tired and sometimes you get discouraged with some of the slow progress that happens at the health center as far as impacting people's lives. But to be able to see the impact from the church, so to come to a Sunday morning service and hear prayer time and people talk about how the health center had been impacting their lives, or to be able to walk home from the church or clinic and run into my patients, so they know that I'm not just someone coming in providing medical services and leaving the neighborhood, but I'm part of the neighborhood.
At Lawndale Christian Health Center, our mission is to show and share the love of Jesus Christ. As a financial director, what I love doing is counting the number of times that we touch people's lives. We touch people's lives every day in many, many different ways, in our fitness center, in our medical clinic, in our dental clinic. When you add it up on the year, we get to touch people over 217,000 times per year, and it's still growing. I love that part of what we do because I know we're impacting people for Christ in doing that. So we do provide health care. We touch a lot of people's lives. But also equally important is we employ over 300 people. We're part of the economic development of our community.
When I came into Hope House, my life was messed up. Actually, I probably was weighing very little. I was probably weighing about 185 pounds, and actually my head was 85 pounds when I came to Hope House because I had used so many different drugs. I was really messed up. The Hope House really helped me to find out what it really takes to be a man, what it really takes to be a man of God, and so I thank God for that.
And while I was incarcerated, Coach and the people from the Lawndale Community Church, they came to visit me. They had a lady by the name of Miss Williams. Every Wednesday, she would write me letters. Every weekend, somebody from this church, Lawndale Community Church, was visiting me, encouraging me. I became a minister of music, and we have a choir now. We have a praise team, and we have the Hope House Men's Choir.
The Garden program is our summer program that stands for Cultivating Young Minds. So we're really working on having the kids in the community have something constructive to do over the summer. You leave school and what do all summer? You sit outside, you play. So this is a way to get the kids to come into our church, welcome them in. It's kindergarten through 8th grade. And basically the way I describe it, it's a summer camp, it's a day camp, it's a summer school, and a Bible school kind of all mixed up in one. So we have a lot of fun, we learn about God and who He is and personally having a personal relationship with Christ. And then also we really learn academics and we emphasize reading and computers and PE, gymnastics. We try to make a variety of activities for the kids for the summer. They're here from 11 o'clock until 5 o'clock.
Two words come to mind: opportunity and exposure. It exposes children in our community to computers. Everyone in our community does not have access to a computer at home. Some of our elementary schools do not have access to computers. So it exposes them to computers and it gives them an opportunity to keep up with today's technology.
We feed them a hot meal every day and we have fun and we teach them academically. But really our goal is to teach them more about Jesus. And really everything that we do is really to just show them more about God. We want them to know how much God loves them.
I grew up in the church, but I just had a chance where I stirred away for a minute. And what happened was I ended up getting shot 7 times and I was paralyzed from the neck down. So I had to learn to walk and do all these things again. But before I did that, I made a promise to Coach and my family that if I ever make it out of this situation that I'm in, I'm going to work with children, because I don't want kids to take the same route that I did of growing up in the church, being in the garden program, but then get to a point in their life where they're confused and don't know what to do, and then they take the road that I did. And so I'm here now, and I'm just motivated to work with kids and get them on the right track.
Now freeze.
More sausage coming up? Yeah, we got some more sausage coming up.
I remember talking to John Perkins early on, and maybe even in the weeks that Malnati's had just opened, and I asked him, I said, John, what's the most important thing that we can do here? He said, and I'll always remember this, he said, the most important thing a man can have in his life is a job. There's no reason to throw money in this community. It just does good for a short season. But if you can provide a man a job, you're giving him a road to dignity. It is unbelievable what we're seeing happening around us, and to feel that God used Malnati's to play a little small part in all that is, it's just breathtaking to me.
One of the main goals of LCDC is to preserve affordable housing in the neighborhood.
Well, I think that God is well pleased with what is going on down at Lawndale Community Church. People have been able to own homes that I had always thought I'd own a home. I mean, it was never even a question. But there's people here that I believe are homeowners now that was not even on their radar that they would ever be able to own their own home. And yet, because of the Development Corporation and other things and people have done and abilities that they have, they've been able to actually own some new homes.
The philosophy of LCDC is more to do with loving God and loving our neighbors. We want to love our neighborhood. We want to be in the business of loving our neighborhood and realizing that through the different initiatives that we have at LCDC.
Well, being a charter member of Lawndale Community Church and being there at that very first Sunday 30 years ago has been an amazing adventure in my life. I never could have anticipated that God would give me such an amazing church to be involved with. From that very first Sunday when we sat in a circle in some old rickety chairs and couches to today when we have hundreds of people that come, it's been really a wonderful thing for me and for my family. And I thank God every day for my church. Honestly, I cannot imagine going to any other church right now. And God willing, this will be my church for the rest of my life. I love this church. I love the people. And I'm so happy to be a part of it.
I just let people know that how far we have come, and we didn't get there just by, instantly. It was a hard going, hard work, hard discipline, and studying, and just praising the Lord, and just staying in the midst of keeping Christ the center of our lives in order to get to that. So we're not a selfish ministry. We're there for everybody, and we welcome everybody through our doors.